Us Chapter, The End of Atlantis. The faint hum of Metromite energy dimmed with each passing second, and the once brilliant lights of the Chamber of the Heart began to flicker and die. Helena looked around, her face pale. "The crystal's power was the only thing keeping the city alive," she whispered. Miles slung the bag over his shoulder. "No time to think about that now. Run!" The team sprinted back through the submerged halls. Behind them, scions emerged from the shadows, their glowing eyes wild with rage. Some leapt forward in pursuit, their guttural screeches echoing through the collapsing chamber. As they reached the edge of the energy canal, the glowing lava-like stream roared louder, its heat intensifying. Miles shouted over his shoulder, "Don't stop! Go!" The team hurried across the bridge panel, but the scions were relentless. Some followed onto the unstable bridge, but the weight of their bodies and the crumbling structure caused sections of it to give way. Several scions tumbled into the canal, their piercing screams silenced as their bodies disintegrated in the glowing energy stream. They made it to the other side, panting as the heat radiated behind them. The entire structure shook violently, chunks of debris falling from the ceiling. Jace glanced back and muttered, "This place is gonna eat itself alive!" Miles waved them forward. "Move! We're not safe yet!" The team emerged from the collapsing building into the open air, their boots splashing through shallow water as they raced toward the ruins where the sphere was waiting. The once vibrant city of Atlantis was crumbling before their eyes. Massive buildings tilted and fell into the ocean, their foundations weakened without the crystal's energy. The glow of Metromite veins across the city faded, leaving darkness in their wake. The full moon hung high above, casting its pale light over the decaying city as the last flickers of life slowly dimmed. As they ran, Kira's voice blared through their comms. "Countdown at 59 minutes! The earthquakes are getting stronger! You need to get to the sphere now!" The ground beneath them cracked and buckled, steam and ash venting from the fractures. The distant roar of an underwater volcano shook the ruins, sending towering plumes of smoke and debris into the air. The sphere descended, hovering above the ruins with its ramp extended. Kira's voice was frantic. "Get on board now! We don't have time!" The team sprinted toward the sphere, but as they reached the ramp, they froze. Damon stood at the entrance, a gun in his hand. His face twisted into a malicious grin as he leveled the weapon at them. "The crystal!" Damon barked. "Hand it over!" Miles stepped forward, his voice steady but firm. "Damon, we don't have time for this. Put the gun down." Damon smirked, gun raised. "The crystal! Hand it over!" Miles stepped forward, his voice cold. "You really think you're in control?" Damon scoffed. "I know I am. There are powerful interests out there that don't just want the crystal. They want the leverage it brings. Unlimited energy, control over nations, economies, the entire world. And I'm the one handing it to them." Miles's jaw tightened. "You're nothing but a delivery boy." Damon chuckled. "You still don't get it. Metromite isn't just some energy source. It's control. Once the right people have it, they'll decide who gets power and who stays in the dark. Governments will beg, conflicts will erupt over access. And me?" His smirk widened. "I won't be a pawn. I'll be holding the strings." Miles shook his head. "No, Damon. You really think they'll share this power? They'll hoard it, sell it to the highest bidder, and make sure no one else ever has it. You're not helping them build the future. You're making sure no one else has one." Damon's smirk flickered. "That's not my problem." Miles's voice hardened. "It will be." Damon sneered. "You think taking me down changes anything? The people in power will find another way. They always do." Miles's eyes burned with anger. "Not this time!" "You're insane," Damon snapped. "This isn't about power. This is about survival. The world is dying, Damon. This is our chance to save it." Damon's finger tightened on the trigger. "Spare me the speech. Give me the crystal, or your friend here gets a bullet to the head." He turned the gun on Jace and fired. The shot hit Jace in the hip, and he collapsed with a cry of pain, blood staining his pants. Helena screamed, rushing to his side. Damon smirked, pointing the gun back at Miles. "Your turn! Hand it over!" Miles gritted his teeth, reluctantly pulling the sling bag off his shoulder. He tossed it to Damon, his voice cold. "You're making a mistake, Damon. That crystal isn't just power, it's responsibility. If you think you can control it, you're deluding yourself. Damon caught the bag and laughed. Responsibility? No, it's power. With this, I'll rule the planet. Nations will beg me for energy. The whole world will bow at my feet. Miles's eyes narrowed. Not if I have anything to say about it. Atlantis collapsed around them. Fiery cracks spread through the ground, glowing with unstable Metromite energy as the city's final moments ticked away. Damon gritted his teeth, gun raised, but before he could fire, Miles lunged. Miles knocked the gun from Damon's hand with a sharp strike to his wrist. The weapon clattered against the shaking floor, sliding toward the edge of the platform. Damon barely hesitated. He drove a knee into Miles's ribs, sending him stumbling back, then swung a wild punch. Miles dodged, countering with a brutal right hook that sent Damon reeling. Blood trickled from his split lip, but he recovered fast, rage flickering in his eyes. The two men collided again, grappling violently, their boots slipping on the unstable ground. Stone slabs cracked beneath them, the entire structure trembling as if Atlantis itself was trying to swallow them whole. In the distance, towers collapsed into the sea, their golden Metromite veins flickering out. A massive volcanic eruption shot molten rock into the air, illuminating the night sky in a hellish glow. Chunks of debris plummeted into the water below, sending massive waves crashing into what remained of the city. The countdown to Atlantis' final collapse was accelerating. 44 minutes! Kira's voice shouted through the comms. Miles, get on the sphere now! Helena rushed to Jace's side, eyes wide with panic as she saw the blood spreading across his hip. Stay with me, Jace, she murmured, working frantically. She yanked a small vial of crushed plants from her utility belt and sprinkled the mixture over the wound, her hands steady despite the chaos around them. This will stop the bleeding, she said, her voice firm but calm. Jace let out a pained groan as she pressed down, sealing the wound with the herbal mixture. She pulled out a small wrapped leaf and placed it into his mouth. Chew this. It'll dull the pain. Jace gave a weak smirk. Feels like a weird time for a snack, but sure. Helena shot him a glare. Shut up and chew. Jace gritted his teeth and obeyed, exhaling sharply as the pain subsided slightly. But even as she worked, her gaze flicked upward, toward Miles and Damon. Jace winced, but managed to lift his hands weakly into a prayer-like gesture, pressing his palms together in silent thanks. Thank you, Helena. Really, he murmured, his voice strained but filled with sincerity. Helena met his gaze, her expression softening. She reached into her pouch and pressed the remaining leaves and vials into his hand. Take these home with you, she said firmly. These plants have healing powers. They'll help you recover. Keep them close. Jace's fingers tightened around the pouch, his voice low but filled with gratitude. I will! Thank you. Helena placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder and gave him a faint smile. You'll be fine, she said softly, her tone steady. With that, she rose to her feet, turning her focus back to the chaos around them, ready to protect her team once more. As she stepped away, the sound of hurried footsteps echoed from the sphere. Lena and Theo emerged, their faces etched with worry. Spotting Jace, they rushed to his side without hesitation. Jace, are you okay? Lena asked, kneeling beside him, her hands already moving to help support him. I've been better, Jace muttered with a weak grin, clutching the pouch Helena had given him. Theo shook his head, a mix of relief and determination on his face. Let's get you inside. The two of them lifted Jace carefully, each taking an arm over their shoulders. Despite his protests, they steadied him and began guiding him back toward the sphere. As the entrance loomed ahead, Jace glanced back at Helena one last time, his expression a mix of gratitude and admiration. The fight continued, brutal and unrelenting. Damon lunged at Miles, grabbing his throat and trying to force him backward toward the platform's crumbling edge. Miles snarled, breaking the grip, then slammed his elbow into Damon's ribs. Damon coughed, stumbling, but snatched a jagged piece of broken stone and swung it like a blade. Miles barely dodged. The sharp edge sliced across his arm, searing pain ripping through him. Gritting his teeth, he ignored it and tackled Damon, slamming him to the ground. They rolled dangerously close to the platform's ledge, where below the ocean churned violently, something monstrous moving beneath the surface. The water behind them swirled into a spiraling vortex. A massive shadow emerged from the depths, its presence sending ripples of pure terror through the crumbling city. Then the beast surfaced, a colossal, octopus-like creature, its bioluminescent eyes glowing an eerie blue, rose from the churning abyss. Tentacles, each as thick as a ship's mast, slithered from the water, latching onto the ruins and pulling its massive body upward. A deafening roar shook the temple, the creature sensing fresh prey. Damon, dazed but desperate, lunged for the bag containing the orichalcum. Miles saw it coming. He grabbed Damon's collar and yanked him back, sending him sprawling toward the edge. Damon barely had time to recover when a massive tentacle shot from the water, wrapping around his leg. Then another tentacle coiled around Damon's torso, lifting him high into the air. Damon thrashed, screaming, his fingers clawing at the slimy appendage. The creature tilted its head as if examining its struggling prey. Then, in a single horrifying motion, it tightened its grip, ripping Damon in two. His screams were drowned by the crashing waves as his remains were pulled into the abyss. Miles exhaled sharply, his chest rising and falling. Damon was gone. He staggered back, panting as he grabbed the sling bag from where it had fallen. The crystal was still intact, its faint glow visible through the fabric. "Get to the sphere!" Kira shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. The ground trembling beneath Miles' feet as the countdown blared over the comm system. 33 minutes! Kira's voice screamed. "Everyone, get back to your seats! Buckle in now!" The sphere shuddered as the ground beneath Atlantis began to split, earthquakes shaking the city to its core. The roar of volcanic eruptions echoed through the chaos, and plumes of fire lit the horizon. The faint glow of the metramite veins flickered like dying embers. Everyone rushed to secure themselves in their seats except for Helena, who stood by the open ramp. Her expression was calm, resolute. She turned toward Miles, who was standing frozen at the entrance, clutching the sling bag with the metramite crystal. Helena stepped forward, her voice steady despite the chaos. "I'm not coming, Miles!" Miles froze, his eyes narrowing in confusion. "What are you talking about? Get inside, now!" Helena shook her head, her lips trembling, but her gaze unwavering. "This is my home. Atlantis is my world. My people died here, and I belong with them. I can't leave." Miles took a step toward her, his voice desperate. "No, Helena, you don't belong to the ruins of a dead city. You've seen what's out there. There's a whole world waiting for you. Come with us. We can rebuild." She shook her head again, tears pooling in her eyes. "Your world isn't perfect, Miles." "You said it yourself. Greed, destruction, people fighting over power. Atlantis wasn't perfect either, but it was my world. My family, my history, everything I am is here. And now it's my time to stay, just like they did." Miles grabbed her shoulders, his voice breaking, tears rolling down his face. "Helena, don't do this. You don't have to die here." Her hand came up to his cheek, soft and steady. "It's not about dying, Miles. It's about knowing where you belong. And this is where I belong." Miles's grip on her tightened as his eyes darted to the countdown clock. 10 minutes. "Fine," he said, his voice trembling with emotion. "Fine." He reached into the sling bag, pulled out the glowing metramite crystal, and held it out to her. His hand shook as the crystal's light cast shimmering patterns across his face. "This is your life, Helena. This is Atlantis, and we're not worthy of this power," he said, his voice heavy with guilt and sorrow. "Our world is corrupt, broken beyond repair. We've proven time and again that we destroy what we don't understand. We don't deserve this crystal, not after everything we've done." He looked at her, his eyes filled with pain. "The metramite is you, Helena. I can't separate the two. It belongs here, with you, where it can't be tainted by the greed and destruction of our world." Helena's tears spilled over as she took the crystal, cradling it in her hands. It glowed softly, as though responding to her touch. She looked back at Miles, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you," she said, tears streaking her face. She pulled him into an embrace, her arms wrapping tightly around him. Then she kissed him, soft and lingering, a goodbye etched in the moment. Helena reached for her necklace, a pendant made of crystalline fragments, and placed it gently around Miles's neck. Her hands lingered for a moment as she looked into his eyes. "Take this," she said softly, her voice steady but laced with emotion. "So you'll always remember me. And who knows?" She gave him a faint, bittersweet smile. "Maybe the universe will find a way to connect us again." "Goodbye, Miles," she whispered, stepping back, the glow of the pendant catching the light as if sealing her words into a quiet promise. Miles stood frozen, his heart breaking as she stepped back, clutching the Metramite crystal to her chest. 5 minutes! Kira's voice echoed from the entrance. She stormed down the ramp, grabbing Miles's arm. "Miles, we have to go, now!" As the destruction intensified around them, fire spewing from volcanoes, waves surging, and Atlantis crumbling, Kira turned to Helena, her voice cutting through the chaos. "Helena!" she called, her tone firm but heavy with gratitude. "Thank you for everything." Helena met Kira's gaze, her strength unwavering. She stood tall, clutching the Metramite crystal to her chest, the glow reflecting the fire and chaos around her. Kira hesitated for just a moment, then tugged Miles firmly toward the ramp. "Miles, come on!" she said urgently, her voice sharp with emotion. "We can't stay here!" With one final look, Kira yanked Miles into the sphere and the ramp sealed behind them. The team scrambled into their seats, strapping themselves in as the sphere began its ascent. 20 seconds! Kira shouted, her voice urgent. "We're out of time!" As the sphere jolted upward, Miles turned to Jace, who was strapped into his seat, pale but steady. "Jace," Miles said, his voice low but concerned. "Are you all right?" Jace managed a faint smile, his voice calm. "Yeah, I don't feel the pain. Thanks to Helena." Miles sighed. "Hang in there, Jace," he said, then glanced down at the glowing pendant around his neck, tears still flowing in his eyes. Outside, the chaos reached a fever pitch. The earth split open as a massive volcano erupted, fire spewing into the sky. A colossal tsunami rose on the horizon, towering higher than anything they'd seen before, a wall of water racing toward the remnants of Atlantis. A vibrant green ring materialized around the sphere, spinning rapidly and crackling with energy. The air shimmered as the ring expanded outward, distorting the view of the collapsing Atlantis. The wormhole opened with a deafening hum, its swirling core pulsating with light. Inside the sphere, Miles gripped his seat, his heart pounding as the countdown ticked lower. 19, 18, Kira called out, her hands steady on the controls, though her voice carried the tension of the moment. 8, 7, 6, 5. Kira looked at Miles, her eyes searching his. For a brief moment, the chaos, the destruction, the weight of everything they had fought for faded into silence. Miles met her gaze and gave a single firm nod. "Kira, take us home." 4, 3, 2... The tsunami loomed closer, a towering wall of water blotting out the horizon. As the countdown reached 1, the wormhole consumed the sphere, pulling it through just as the massive wave crashed down on the spot where they had been. In an instant, the sphere disappeared, leaving nothing but chaos in its wake. Outside, Helena stood firm on the trembling platform, the Metramite crystal glowing faintly in her hands. The ground beneath her feet cracked violently, the force of the earthquake splitting the remnants of Atlantis as fire and ash erupted from the earth. The volcano roared in the distance, sending molten lava spilling into the collapsing ruins, while the towering tsunami surged forward, ready to consume everything in its path. Helena took a deep breath, then closed her eyes, her expression calm amidst the chaos. She clutched the Metramite crystal tightly to her chest, its pulsating glow reflecting the dying light of her world. The roar of the tsunami and the fiery eruption merged into a deafening crescendo, the city crumbling into the sea with a final thunderous groan. The waves struck, engulfing Helena and the ruins of Atlantis in a powerful cascade. The glow of the Metramite dimmed as the water surged over her, swallowing the remnants of the once great civilization. Lava hissed and steamed as it met the ocean, and the mighty city disappeared into the depths, leaving only a haunting silence in its wake. Atlantis was gone, buried beneath the waves and fire, taking with it the last flicker of its power and its final protector, who embraced her fate with unwavering resolve.